Hi everybody, today I am going to talk about something I observed while looking at the videos of poor retirees, on people who somehow, after a long life of work or partial work, found themselves in a situation where they are practically poor and they have to live on, and have to survive on a very low income. And I will distill this observation into some kind of law, which I will hope will clarify things for you. It could serve as an analytical tool and as a guide in your life. And I will also contribute two parameters, formal parameters like key performance indicators, something like that. So like you'll have a formal indicator, measurable, one or two measurable indicators that will tell you immediately, this is very practical information, that will tell you immediately where you stand vis-a-vis the risk of ending up a poor retiree. So let's begin. My first example is from Switzerland, which means that even if you are in one of the world's richest countries, you can still mess up your retirement plans. So this is a very beautiful lady in Switzerland who was basically chose to be entertained by a rich guy for the first 20 years of her life, and who somewhere around beginning 40s told her that he cannot help her anymore. So realizing the gravity of her situation, she immediately trained as a taxi driver, and she worked. She did work seriously as a taxi driver in Switzerland, in her city, for the next like 25, 30 years, till retirement. But she saved money because she had nothing. She saved a lot of money. She was forced not to enjoy her salary, but to save a significant part of her salary as basically her pension plan. So that, hoping that by the time she reaches retirement, she will have the sum total of a meager pension from the Swiss social security system, plus monthly withdrawal from her savings from her career as a taxi driver. Now the sad thing about this story is that she basically paid the price. Okay, she lived 20 years, and then she lived 20 years for free, and then she paid the price by living 45 years in a difficult situation. Okay, she probably would not be extremely poor, but basically by living 20 years for free, she paid them with 45 years of quasi-misery. The point I want you to retain here is that she woke up at 40 years old. Let's say she woke up at 40 years old. This is an important point that I want you to keep in mind. My second example is from France. So this is a young guy who started his career early. Apparently he didn't go to college. So he started somewhere around 20 years old, let's say, I suppose, with a salary probably below average, slightly below average, like 2,000 euros, I suppose. I guess it's like 2,000 euros. And like many young people today, in the previous generation, he decided to enjoy life. So he spent his 20s enjoying life, and somewhere at about 32 years old, he realized that he had nothing, okay? That he saved nothing. So he posted this classical video which says, I'm 32 years old, I'm broke, and I am going to do something about it, basically. So what he did is he went back to his hometown, because his job is not necessarily tied to being in a very large city or in the capital, Paris. So he went back to his hometown to live with his mother, to save the rent, which should definitely be a significant part of his salary, somewhere for all of us, somewhere between 15 to 40% of our salary. So, and he said, I'm going to work very hard. I'm going to do two jobs. You take two jobs, and I'm going to get out of this situation. And I personally, and we all wish him very good luck. I think he will, if he is serious, 7 years, my favorite number is 7 years. Within 7 years, he will get out of this situation, and he will, I think, start up his life and head towards eventually financial freedom. So again, the same concept comes back. He woke up basically at 32 years old. Okay, the first example, she woke up somewhere around 40. This guy woke up at 32 years old, and he still has, according to the French pension system, in which you could go somewhere between 64 and 66 years old, he still has about 30 to 35 years. So he's in a pretty good situation. My third example is also, again, from Switzerland. So this case is a classical case of a very good citizen who spent his life working, and he basically worked as a truck driver for more than 40 years, okay, thinking that he would be, according to his average salary, he would be in a good situation. Apparently in the Swiss pension system, there is a basic pension level, and then there is a second tier and probably a third tier system. So he thought that he was probably, according to his own calculations and salary and estimates, he would be in the second tier. He never worried about his future until at retirement he discovered that he was a victim of a threshold effect. That means his contributions to the social security system put him slightly just below the threshold which enables him to access the second tier. So he found himself, again, a poor retiree. This is an example of a person who basically didn't make any any mistake that's related to carelessness or negligence. So he was not negligent. He did work all his life. But we should remember 2 points. The first one is that when he reached retirement, he had zero savings. So for like 40 years, he didn't put aside a single Swiss franc or whatever, 1,000 Swiss francs or whatever. And the second point that, again, I like to go back to this wake up time. He woke up at retirement, okay, to figure out what he was going to have as a pension. Now, this brings me to the law that I'm trying to introduce, which is the law of conservation of frugality. And this law basically applies to people who satisfy exactly two conditions. The first is if you are starting your life from zero, okay? And the second, you did not inherit any wealth from the previous generation. Probably half of humanity satisfies more or less this condition. There's a lot of people on earth who are starting from zero and who cannot count on prior wealth. Sometimes prior wealth exists, but it's in a small village, or it's in a small city, and it is absolutely of no help in a large city, and even much less in a foreign country for those who are immigrated. So if you started from zero, if you started your career from zero, and you have no prior wealth from the previous generation, then the law of conservation of frugality will impose itself on it. That means, in its first part, there is a wake-up time. At some point, you will be forced to wake up to reality. You will be forced to wake up to frugality. And the second point is the length of the frugality period. The later you wake up in life, okay, the longer will be your frugal period. And vice versa. This guy, for example, the French guy who woke up at 32, I'm sure if he is really serious, first of all, the law of frugality applied to him, okay, because he started from zero and he didn't have prior wealth. So he was forced to go back to his mother. The second is that he woke up at 32, so it was a little bit early, okay, he woke up a little bit early, and he can save his situation, his financial situation within the span of 10 to 15 years. So his frugality period was inevitable but shorter because he woke up earlier. The lady who woke up at 40 and something, she woke up a little too late, okay? She woke up too late and she was forced into a frugality period that will last all her life. That's basically from the time she started working as a taxi driver till the end of her life, till retirement and then the end of her life. And the person who worked his whole life and had a meager retirement, he was forced into frugality from his retirement date till the end of his life. So we have a guy who would be frugal probably from 32 to 42 and then, escape frugality for the rest of his life. The lady was frugal from 42 to the end of her life, and the taxi driver and the truck driver was frugal from 62, his retirement, to the rest of his life. The law says that there is a fixed amount of frugality. If you are starting from zero, and you are not counting, you don't have any wealth from the previous generation, there is a fixed amount of frugality that will impose itself upon you, or you will impose it upon yourself. If you are smart enough and if you wake up early enough, okay, you will impose upon yourself. There is this fixed amount of frugality. Sooner or later you will be frugal. The earlier the better, okay? Now, before I conclude, and as I promised at the beginning of the video, I want to contribute a second parameter, a second basically indicator that will tell you where exactly you can situate yourself vis-a-vis this law of conservation of frugality, and how much risk you basically you are running of living in a very long frugal period. The idea is very simple. It's just to imagine that you started saving every month only $100, okay? $100 a month, starting from your initial salary till now, or till whatever, at the point at which, for example, you're watching this video, okay? Make this calculation. That's gonna give you about $1,200. Try to translate it into your current local currency, okay? It can be, euros, it could be yuan, it could be Japanese yen, it could be also Canadian dollar, Australian dollar, but calculate how much money you would have in your account, or how much your net worth would be if you were leaving behind every month about $100 of net worth, okay? The value that you will obtain, suppose you've been working just 7 years, okay? Like you started at 21 years old, now you are 28 years old. You worked 7 years. 7 times 12, that's basically 84. So you would have $8,400. After 7 years of work, if you are much farther below $8,400, then you are in the risk zone. This value, okay, this value is an initial indicator of being below, in the risk zone of being forced into a long frugality period. Or if you are much higher than this, if you have in 7 years you are much higher than $8,400, then you probably are on the right track, that you are managing correctly, you are managing wisely your finances vis-a-vis future good retirement plan, future prosperity, and hopefully, I hope for all my viewers, total financial freedom. So keep in mind, $100 per month from your initial starting, the initial starting point of your career till the day you are watching this video, or every 5 to 6 years, you could just calculate where you are, okay, and figure out how much farther you want, or if you are in a risky position. Now, maybe the general idea for me that I want to communicate is the law of conservation of frugality fundamentally says that if we are poor, if we started from zero and we cannot count on our parents, it's like a cup, a sour cup that sooner or later we will have to drink. Sooner or later you will have to drink the cup of frugality, and the earlier the better, and the harder the better, okay? If you are able to force yourself in the first years of your career to be extremely frugal, or as frugal as possible, until you have some kind of initial capital, you buy a studio or something, invest in real estate or whatever, then you will definitely save yourself. So it's a cup that sooner or later every person must drink. And the fact that people in Switzerland were forced to drink for 40 years, okay, or for 60 years, or for 20 years, that means every human on earth who satisfies these two conditions, starting from zero, having no prior inheritance, having no prior wealth from his parents, must eventually drink. The law of conservation of frugality is inevitable for us, okay? It's inevitable. The sooner you wake up and the harder you are upon yourself, the better the rest of your life will be, okay? I wish you all good luck.